So, the subject of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. The story about a group of teenagers with attitude. We could talk about the origins of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to where it started off with Zuranja, which happened in Japan, to where it was adapted to an American audience, with, of course, American actors, and, of course, a lot of different changes. And of course, people remember Mighty Morphin Power Rangers as one of their first types of series by Saban. So, in my case, when it comes to Mighty Morphin, I remember from Mighty Morphin to Alien Rangers to Zeo Rangers to Power Rangers Turbo to even Power Rangers in Space. And then after that, I felt that it was kind of going awry. But we're not here to talk about the series. We're going to talk about the movie that just came out in 2017. This year. Yeah. So, I'm going to give a review that is non-spoiler. I mean, there'll be a few things that people would have noticed in the trailers. So I'm going to actually bring those up into more perspective. And I'm going to also give a good review. Now, first things first, I am going to say this. Yes, this was actually a good movie. I thought this was going to suck. Okay? Because the last time I saw a movie that tried to reboot a franchise, that was Fantastic Four. And that was a piece of shit. But when it comes to Power Rangers, they took some really good, how can we put it? They took some really good pointers they took some stuff from the original franchise that had a lot of controversy. And they changed it for this movie. And I thought it was really, really good. So, like, for example, we have Jason, we have Kimberly. Yeah, we have Trini. She doesn't look exactly like, the Asian that we remember. But she's definitely, of a different race, in the movie. Like, you can tell, okay? But when it came to Billy and Zach, this was one of those cases where they took a controversy that happened in the original Mighty Morphin and they flipped it. Billy is black and Zach is white, technically. And I actually thought that was a really good move. Now, they kept Billy, smart, of course. I mean, he wasn't no David Yost, but I think that this was a really good change on my part. Like, I felt that it was a good little change from what had happened in the American series where Zach was a black guy and he was the Black Ranger. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy about that as I was growing up. But they changed that here nonetheless. A second thing that they changed that I thought was interesting was that Jason in this movie is not a karate guy. He was a quarterback in football. This is one of those changes where, it mattered, but it wasn't really a big deal to me. I like the fact that they actually put the Rangers' actual families in this little scenario because everybody always wondered in the past, where were these teenagers' parents? Where were their parents while they were fighting evil and all of that shit? Where were the parents? Well, this shows the parents. And I thought that was a really good nod. Now, of course, there was some cons, but I'll get to that in a little bit. When it came to Kimberly, I kind of liked who they chose for Kimberly because every time when I looked at her in the movie while I was watching, I kept getting this feel of Amy Jo Johnson, which was the original Pink Power Ranger. You got to see some of the struggles that the teenagers went through, not only getting these powers, but also the struggles of literally an everyday teenager. Like how they would cope with having these powers at their high school. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that this was like a good take on modernizing Power Rangers. I enjoyed the fact that they fixed up these unanswered questions that people always wondered in the original television series. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that. When it came to Rita Repulsa, well, they made her hot to me. I thought she was actually rather attractive. And I liked the raspiness in Rita's voice in this movie. Of course, it wasn't the original actress of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I know. But I kind of liked it. I mean, there'll probably be people doing reviews about this movie that'll say that this movie was shit and that Rita Repulsa was terrible. I kind of enjoyed it. She kind of had that feel of like a female Doctor Doom type of thing going on, which I actually enjoyed that. I enjoyed that, especially there was this one scene. I'm not going to put really any spoilers in it, but it was technically in the trailer, so I can talk about this. So there was a scene where Rita found the location of where the Yellow Ranger lived. And just that whole scenario from watching it on the trailer versus watching it on the movie, I had a better response from when I saw it on the movie versus the trailer. Even though I liked how the trailer portrayed that. On the one hand, it's like the Yellow Ranger, just like the other ones, have powers even in human form, but Rita can do the same damn thing. I enjoyed that. It kind of put like the fear of who Rita really is now. And it was kind of like what they were trying to do in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but they weren't really putting a lot of depth on it in the series. Everybody knows Rita Repulsa, yes, is from another planet, and she's technically a terrorist. That's technically what Rita is. That's how she was in Mighty Morphin, and they only put more depth in it in the Power Rangers movie. Now, there was another thing that they put in this movie, which was basically the fact, and this is technically in the trailer too, so this isn't technically me spoiling anything, is that now the Power Rangers have enhanced strength and abilities even in human form. There was a little bit of some cons in that with me because, they didn't really explain that in like the original television series, but it would also explain how the original Power Rangers in human form could actually take on the Putty Patrol in the original Mighty Morphin, and humans didn't really put up much of a threat to the Putty Patrol. This is another reason of like this movie answers another unanswered question from Mighty Morphin, which was, how is it that the Power Rangers, even when they're not morphed, they can still fight the Putty Patrol in the Mighty Morphin, but yet the humans aren't that good? That kind of is answered in the movie a little bit more now. Of course, the movie's different, and I recommend people to watch this movie and not really think too much about the series. Not really think too much about it. But of course, there was some cons in the movie, and I'm going to talk about those right now. Number one, the suits. Yeah, the suits were they were too CGI for me. But you could tell that they looked similar to like the original Mighty Morphin look back in the day. But of course, it was changed for like modern times. I think that they could have done the suits a little better. I thought they looked more like Iron Man model type suits than Mighty Morphin. Another con for the movie is the simple fact of Alpha 5. I didn't like the voicing for Alpha 5. They could have done it better. Alpha was just not goofy enough for me. I'm always used to a goofy Alpha 5. But I could see what they were trying to do in the movie, but I wasn't a fan of Alpha 5 in this movie. I think they could have done that better. And another thing that was a bit of a problem with me during this movie is the Megazord. The Megazord looks like a giant fucking transformer. I didn't enjoy the Megazord. I just couldn't get with it. I couldn't. I'm sorry, guys. The Megazord just looks like a fucking transformer. I just didn't like it. This is a spoiler, but I'm not going to mention anything about it. But when it comes to, in the trailer, there is a boss battle in the movie. It's shown in the trailer, but you don't really know anything about it unless you watch the movie. I think that boss battle could have been better. Now, there's also some neutral things about this movie that I want to address. It's neither good nor bad. It's like in the middle, okay? And the first one I'm going to talk about is Bryan Cranston as Zordon. Now, Bryan Cranston already had admitted that he is a fan of Power Rangers. And if I'm not mistaken, there was some news saying that Bryan Cranston was also in Mighty Morphin. He played as some of the monsters in some of the suits that fought the Power Rangers. I don't know if that's true or not. That's just me mentioning that. But when it came to Bryan Cranston as Zordon, I thought it was an iconic role for him. I felt that he could have done a little bit better, but I honestly don't know who else I would have chose for Zordon than somebody who's a fan of Mighty Morphin, which Bryan Cranston. Why not, right? Why not? You know, the guy was in Malcolm in the Middle. The guy was in Breaking Bad. The guy was in Godzilla 2014. And now he's playing a Zordon stuck in a tube and also stuck in Time Warp. I mean, it was nice. It was nice. It was nice. Another neutral point that I want to bring up is the actors that they chose for Billy and Zach. I felt they were a tad bit bland, but I mean, I'm not going to say that they didn't do their character right. They could have given them a little bit more depth toward the character they were trying to portray, but I'm not going to say they did bad. I just think they could have done better, or they could have at least been given more stuff to do and really to say. Okay. Now, when it came to Jason, the only thing I had a problem with about that, the small little lack of confidence that Jason has, and the fact that, in Mighty Morphin, Jason knows karate versus in the movie where he's a quarterback. So, I like the guy they chose for Jason, but they could have tweaked a few things. And then, the final thing I'm going to talk about is Trini. Now, here's my little problem with this. Is I was so used to Trini being Asian from Mighty Morphin. I know I keep bringing up Mighty Morphin and stuff, and then I said, go into watching this movie not thinking about Mighty Morphin, but it's really hard for me not to. It's hard for me not to, especially when it came to Trini, because I felt that they could have literally casted her differently. Now, I am not saying that the actress did bad. I just think she didn't really fit the role for Trini. But aside from the fact of all the neutral stuff and the cons and pros, it was a decent movie. Now, some of my close friends and subscribers are going to be wondering something. Is this movie better than the original Mighty Morphin movie we got? And is it also better than Turbo, a Power Rangers movie? Okay, let me explain this here. I believe this movie is better than Turbo. Alright, Turbo was shit to me. Not even Jason David Frank could have fixed that movie. Not even, not even Kimberly or Jason in the Turbo movie was able to fix it. Turbo, the movie, didn't really need to be made. I didn't like Turbo, the movie. So, do I think that Power Rangers 2017 is better than Turbo? Yes, it is better than Turbo to me. Okay? Aside from Diva Tox's, giant tits, and Kimberly showing legs and booty and, shorts and stuff, that couldn't even fix the movie. Having Jason David Frank and Jason in there, you couldn't fix that. Jason and Austin could not fix that movie. All right. But when it comes to the original Mighty Morphin, is it better or worse than this movie? Now, the suits were better in Mighty Morphin than in Power Rangers 2017, the movie we're talking about right now. The suits, yes, are better in Mighty Morphin the movie than Power Rangers 2017. I will go ahead and give that. All right. When it came to depth and storyline, okay, Mighty Morphin was a movie that was made for people who were fans of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If you knew about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you were going to come watch that movie. You were going to know. All right? Now, this is coming from a neutral standpoint. All right? Mighty Morphin did not have a good plot. All right? Mighty Morphin did not have a good plot. And I like Ivan Ooze. I liked Lord Zed in that movie. I even liked Rita Repulsa in that movie. But everybody else in that movie, I didn't like it. I mean, I did like the main actors that were there, okay? It's like this. It's like, oh, let's make a movie where we get all of the actors that played the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Gen 2 Mighty Morphin, might I say, where, you know, doesn't have Jason, Kimberly, and Trini and all that. This is Gen 2 Power Rangers. All right. Okay. And look, let's try and get all these actors together, make a Mighty Morphin movie, give them kick-ass freaking suits, and let them do what they do best. Mighty Morphin was like a giant episode of the original television show, but put into a movie. Power Rangers 2017 gave depth to each character. It showed like some of the problems they were having as teenagers. Alright, keep that in mind. It had its funny moments in there, but it also was a serious movie. But there's one other thing that makes me like this movie a little more than the others. And that's the simple fact that the casting for Power Rangers 2017 is the original Power Rangers versus Mighty Morphin, where it's the Gen 2 Power Rangers. This is like the start of everything. And I'm going to say this, is if they make a sequel of Power Rangers 2017, you know for a fact the Green Ranger is going to be in it. You know for a damn well fact that Tommy is going to be in this movie. It may not be Jason David Frank, which I'm kind of hoping is going to be Jason David Frank, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen. If they don't put the Green Ranger in a Power Rangers movie, it's a sin. It's going to be a sin, all right? So, aside from the suits and Ivan Ooze and Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed, Mighty Morphin beats that. But everything that's opposite that didn't happen in Mighty Morphin happened in Power Rangers 2017. So do I say that Power Rangers 2017 is better than Mighty Morphin? By a small percentage. Small. If they would have fixed the suits, and they would have fixed the casting in, you know, Power Rangers 2017, and they would have fixed a lot of the so-called CGI that was in 17, then yeah, it would be automatically better than Mighty Morphin by a long shot. But right now, it's like this is Mighty Morphin right here, okay guys? And this is Power Rangers 2017. You notice it's a little bit higher, okay? There you go. So, what would I rate Power Rangers 2017? Well, that was actually the hardest part in this. Do I recommend people to watch this movie? Yes, I do. I recommend you to go and watch it. And in the comments down below, let me know if you enjoyed this movie. Okay? Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know. Okay? I like listening to people's comments. As long as you're not attacking me, of course. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. So what would I rate this movie? I'd have to give this movie a, say maybe about a 7.5 out of 10. Yep, 7.5 out of 10 is about like that. I can handle that. I will say that there's going to be some scenes in there that are going to get people emotional. I will say this, and I'm talking to the people that made Power Rangers 2017. So I want you to listen carefully. If you don't put the Green Ranger in the sequel, you will have a lot of people pissed off at you. You will. You will have people wanting to destroy shit if you don't put the Green Ranger in the sequel of this movie. I'm being serious. And two, try and at least put like an Easter egg of Jason David Frank in the movie. If you can't make him the Green Ranger, at least give him like a little cameo or something. Because Tommy Oliver, also known as Jason David Frank, from the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, is the Green Ranger. Just like he's the White Ranger. So everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this movie review, click that like button, leave a nice positive comment down below. And I am Onyx the Movie Guru, and I'll see you next time.